Here.
Melissa Morris.
Here.
Barbara Cash.
Here.
Edith McKee.
Here.
Carla Baxley.
Here.
Art Clark. Art?
Yeah.
All right. We're just calling. All right. Thank you.
Does anybody, do you know how to reverse the cameras?
Okay. If you hover just lower part of your screen, there'll be a video camera. Just click on it.
Okay, I did that. And it's showing the other side away from me, from the camera.
Just a moment.
It's the ... and then there's a camera settings button.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't want it turned on, but he said it is on.
Okay. I hit the ... and hit cameras and nothing happened. Oh, there it is. Never mind, I see it.
Okay, moving on. May we have a motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2020? I believe we need to type motion and the second. May we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Please type motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Please type motion and second. Someone type motion and another one type second.
Oh,
Through the chair, Art, did you open your chat at the bottom of the screen? Okay.
Okay, so Art, you'll type motion. You've made the motion, and it sounds like Edith is seconding the motion. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes? Please type yes or nothing at all. Seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved. Moving on to disclosures. Are there any disclosures this evening? Commissioner Baxley, Commissioner McKee, would you please? Yes. Commissioner Baxley, can you please state your disclosure?
Yes, I need to, I am recusing myself from case 2020-0055 because I work for the petitioner's representative, R&M.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxley. If there are no objections, we will recuse Commissioner Baxley from case 2020-0055.
How do I recuse myself? Will someone text me and let me know I can come back online?
So you can stay online, you just cannot speak or be involved in the case.
Okay.
Is my volume too low? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm seeing that Barbara Cash has said that my volume is too low.
I could use more volume for sure from you there.
That's the first I've ever heard of that coming out from my mouth. I am one of the loudest people I know. Okay, I'll speak up. It's the mask. I'm sorry. Okay, so thank you, Edith, for your non-objection. So, Edith, you have disclosure?
I do. I have a conflict regarding case number 2020-0056 the major site plan review for Takishla Park improvements. I was part of the original planning committee.
Okay. Can we have a motion to direct Commissioner McKee to participate in case 2020-0056? And a second. Thank you, Commissioner Morse. And Commissioner Cash, your second. Is there any discussion, or shall we take a vote on this? Does anyone want to discuss this recusal? Or this disclosure? I'm sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and go to a vote.
Commissioner Winchester?
Are we voting? Okay.
Commissioner Winchester?
Yes?
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Cash?
Yes.
Commissioner Baxley?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
And Chair Ream has voted no. Correct?
I'm voting for her to abstain.
Oh,
So
we're
not
directing.
participate.
So for clarification, you're voting for her to participate or not participate?
The motion is stated in the positive. To participate.
The motion was to direct her to participate. So if you do not, you need to vote against, nay.
I think we should go ahead and just call for a revote. Ms. Blake.
Commissioner Sullivan? If you do not want her to participate, if you do not want,
No, yes. No, I don't want her to participate.
so that's a no, correct?
Yes, correct.
Commissioner Winchester?
No.
Commissioner Morse?
No.
Commissioner Cash?
Yeah, you're right.
No.
Pardon me?
No.
Thank
I want her to be recused.
Commissioner Baxley?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
And Chair Ream has voted no.
Okay, so it sounds like Commissioner McKee will not be participating in case 2020-0056. Moving on to item 2 under special orders, we have an informational item, case number 2019-0062, context-sensitive solutions transportation project site plan review, plans in hand for the Seward Highway O'Malley Road to Diamond Boulevard reconstruction. May we have staff's presentation? Oh, it looks like we need Commissioner Morse. Oh, my apologies. I did not look at my screen. Commissioner Morse, you have a disclosure. My apologies.
No worries. I would like to be excused from voting on the resolutions this evening as I was not present for the cases.
Which resolution was this? Oh, got it. Okay. And this would be the same for Commissioner Sullivan. Do you have disclosures also? Commissioner Sullivan, may you please state your disclosure?
Assent on all of them.
Thank you. So Commissioner Morrison Sullivan will not be voting for the resolutions. Okay. Moving on to the informational item. must get used to this chat board. Case 2019-0062, Seward Highway, O'Malley Road to Diamond Boulevard. Do we have a staff's presentation?
Thank you. This is a brief informational item related to case 2019-0062, which was the Seward Highway, O'Malley Road to Diamond Boulevard project that went before the Urban Design Commission, the Urban Design Commission in 2019. And it's part of the larger Seward Highway improvements project, or capacity expansion project. And the commission has a memo in front of them, and there are several items that are changing. The most notable being Diamond Boulevard. The interchange is moving from a previously proposed diverging Diamond interchange to essentially remaining the same as it is today, with some minor safety improvements. And those changes are clearly seen in Figure 1 versus Figures 2 and 3. Figure 1 in the second page of the informational item shows the design as it was proposed to the UDC previously, and then Figures 2 and 3 highlight what the design going forward will be. And in addition, the project schedule has been shifted slightly from construction starting late 2021 to now 2022, depending upon funding availability. So those are the two major changes. I believe we should have a representative from the project team participating in the meeting to help answer any additional questions if required. But the changes that are occurring were not part of, or were not, do not affect any of the conditions of approval that were put on the 2019 case. So if I can help answer any questions, or the project team can, please let me know.
Thank you. I think we'll start with you. Are there any questions about this informational case for Mr. Hodges? Hearing and seeing none, is there a presentation from the project team that wishes to speak?
This is Sean Baskey with the Department of Transportation. I'm the project manager for the project. So SEANBASKI.
Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you so much for allowing us to, present this information for you guys. As good public stewards, we've been looking at different opportunities to make sure that the community is getting everything that they need across the entire system. And so, we as soon as we found out that we needed to potentially modify this project, we reached out to a lot of people and coordinated with a lot of individuals, talked with planning staff in the municipality and the traffic section with the municipality, and I think that moving forward, we've got a best of both worlds, trying to make improvements where we can, where they're feasible, and then also delivering what we can for the community in other areas as well. And so we're not forgetting about this interchange. This interchange certainly needs work, but I think the performance on it, and with the minor safety improvements that we're proposing, I think will live out a good life here for the short term, while we can work on other things in the community that are more needed. So outside of that, we'd just like to thank the planning staff for working with us collaboratively and getting us to where we are today.
Thank you, Mr. Baskey. Are there any questions for Mr. Baskey? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much for presenting this to us and for coming to a common ground solution for a very difficult intersection. Hopefully, this works for the future. Moving on to the consent agenda. May we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I have a motion from Commissioner McKee and a second from Commissioner Cash. Are there any objections to the, is there anything on the agenda that somebody would like to remove? Seeing, hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Okay, I think we're moving on to the regular agenda. We have a case 2020-0049, petitioner State of Alaska, for a context-sensitive solutions transportation project site plan review, plans in hand for the Dowling Road Seward Highway interchange reconstruction project. May we have the staff's presentation?
Thank you. The State of Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities, DOT and PF, is requesting Urban Design Commission approval of the context-sensitive solutions CSS plans in hand design for the Dowling Road and Seward Highway interchange reconstruction project. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed and approved earlier stages of this project as a concept report on April 2nd, 2019, and a design study report on November 4th, 2019. The scope of this project includes reconstructing and realigning the existing pair of roundabouts at the interchange, reconstructing the connecting ramps and frontage roads, installing new traffic control devices for non-motorized traffic, replacing signage and striping, installing new LED lighting, improving drainage, and relocating utilities. The number of vehicle lanes remain the same, but the roundabout approaches and diameters will be modified in order to create more gaps in the roundabout at peak hours to prevent queuing of the off-ramps onto the Seward Highway. And Figure 1 in the staff report shows the location of the proposed reconstruction. The original roundabouts of the interchange were constructed in 2003 during the widening of Dowling Road from a 2-lane road to a 5-lane highway. This reconstruction is part of the wider Seward Highway expansion project. And Figure 2 in the staff report superimposes the existing configuration with the proposed reconstruction. And the footprint of the interchange is expanding significantly, mostly due to the increased diameter of the roundabouts. This right-of-way expansion requires partial acquisition of adjacent parcels, but DOT and PF does not anticipate any full acquisitions, or no parcels will be completely subsumed. And figures 3 through 5 in the staff report show renderings of the proposed reconstruction after it will be complete. Part of the review is looking at the consistency with the design study report approval prior to this. And in this case, the Planning and Zoning Commission previously did not impose any conditions of approval on the DSR, so there are no conditions to meet. And for the plans in hand review, the Urban Design Commission shall approve with condition or reject the landscaping, streetscape, and pedestrian design plans at a stage no greater than 65% for all applicable street projects. And that includes several items, which I'll go over now. First is compliance with this title. It's in compliance with all Title 20 requirements, except that design progress on this project has generally outpaced the CSS process, as reconstruction is currently at approximately 95% design. And this conflicts with AMC 2103-190B5B, cited above, which requires the Urban Design Commission to review the plans in hand application at a design stage no greater than 65%. This situation does not impair the Commission's ability to review the plans in hand, but could potentially complicate the ability of the project to comply with UDC recommendations and or increase the cost of that compliance. Looking at the context of the area and the long-term impact on existing and projected adjacent land uses, figures 6 and 7 of the staff report show the existing zoning and future land use designations along the corridor. Land use designations largely match existing zoning. Both are designated light industrial, and this indicates continuity in the uses that should go forward. And the Anchorage 2040 land use plan cites the importance of preserving industrial lands. However, the expansion of the footprint of this intersection, while it does reduce the available industrial land through right-of-way acquisition, the acquisition will not be significant since it's only seeking partial acquisition of each affected industrial parcel. So no full industrial parcels will be affected or will be completely removed from service. The initial cost of materials is, including installation construction, is $39.4 million, and the federal government through FHWA will be covering 90%, and DOT and PF is responsible for the remaining 10%. For costs associated with operation and maintenance, DOT and PF will continue to be responsible for those costs at the roundabout. Maintenance reduction measures were taken in the design, including additional space for snow storage, minimizing gray water infrastructure in favor of water infiltration basins, and using recessed or inlaid striping to reduce wear and tear. For design themes in local area plans or public improvements, there are no specific design themes for the corridor established previously, but the reconstruction does aim to be consistent with prior public improvements, for lighting, pattern concrete, and pathway configurations. But landscaping, one notable aspect is landscaping, aside from the topsoil and seeding, is absent from the proposed designs. But DOT has stated that trees and shrubs similar to those installed at the recent 76th Avenue roundabouts are proposed to be included, but the specifications have not yet been finalized. So a recommended condition of approval will be for DOT to provide tree and shrub landscaping that more closely matches the design as originally proposed in the project renderings and similar to 76th Avenue roundabouts. Effectiveness in meeting community design goals, the Anchorage Bicycle Plan, Irwide Trails Plan, and Anchorage Pedestrian Plan are the primary design-related planning documents, and in each case, the proposed interchange design includes facilities that are equivalent to or better than the facilities recommended in those plans. And finally, accommodation of pedestrians and non-motorized users. Both the design study report and the plans in hand report for this project cite non-motorized safety concerns of the existing interchange, mostly relating to poor vehicle yielding behavior at the existing roundabouts. The proposed new roundabout design removes the existing speed humps that has been calming vehicle speeds currently, but configures sight distances, approach, and roundabout diameters to achieve a design speed of 20 miles per hour or less at each pedestrian crossing location. In addition, rectangular rapid flashing beacons will be installed at the east-west roundabout approaches to increase vehicle yielding rates. Figure 8 of the staff report shows what those look like generally, and they're essentially warning signs with the flashing beacons that attract drivers' attention, and they're actuated by push buttons, so that the pedestrian has to press the button for them to, or a pedestrian has to be present for them to be activated. And these speed reduction improvements are especially important because the speed approaching the roundabouts, where the speed limit is 45 miles per hour, which poses significant risk to non-motorized traffic crossing at the roundabouts. Figure 9 in the staff report shows a graphic that highlights some research indicating that pedestrians hit by vehicles traveling faster than 20 to 30 miles per hour have a much higher chance of a fatal outcome. Therefore, it's important that the design speed, the target design speed for the roundabout, for the crossings is about 20 miles per hour. But overall, the non-motorized accommodations in the proposed designs represent an improvement over the existing interchange design. No public comments or community council comments were received, and there were no substantive agency comments or objections. And considering this, the department recommends approval of the context-sensitive solutions plans in hand application, subject to the landscaping related condition on page 12 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Hodges? Seeing and hearing none. Is there a petitioner online that wishes to speak?
Hi, this is Kevin Jackson. I'm the project manager for the Department of Transportation for this project. And
Hi, Kevin. Can you please spell your name and then let me know if you would like any of your 10 minutes? Oh, never mind. I apologize. This isn't a public hearing. I'm on autopilot. Kevin, can you please state your name?
Yes, Kevin, K-E-V-I-N.
And spell it. Thank you.
Jackson, J-A-C-K-S-O-N.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I'd like to thank you all for letting us come before you. And I kind of hard to get used to this new format, but anyway, this is going to be a big improvement to the existing conditions. I think your planning staff has done a great job there with presenting you with the information, but if there's any other additional information or questions you'd like to ask us, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Jackson? Commissioner Baxley.
Yeah. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm getting used to the system too. It's all new.
Strange times.
It is. Well, I have a couple questions regarding the roundabout. Did you guys do a traffic analysis? Do you think by increasing the size of the roundabout that it will, I don't know if I want to say eliminate backup on the southbound, on the highway with traffic heading southbound during peak rush hours along the Seward Highway? What did you guys find with the traffic analysis?
That's one of the major goals we're trying to solve is traffic backing up there. One of the problems with the existing roundabouts is the size. When they were constructed, we were limited on right-of-way, and we couldn't design them to the best size to take advantage of geometrics that will cause vehicles to have to slow down more. But we did an extensive analysis. In fact, on the design team, there's one of the nation's premier roundabout designers who actually did the design. I think he might be on the line and might be able to provide additional information that is beyond my capabilities. But with the larger size of the roundabouts, it's going to increase the capacity, and we fully expect to have much better operations with traffic not backing up on the Seward Highway.
By increasing the size of the roundabout, it increases capacity, but does it also give people more time to make decisions, so they feel like they have enough time to make a maneuver? Where before it seems like everything is so quick, and before I know it, if I'm heading northbound and I'm on the off ramp, and if I want to get into the circle, it just seems like cars they're heading eastbound under that bridge so quickly that I'm not able to, I don't want to pull out in front of people, so I'll sit there and wait.
Yeah, that is a problem with the existing. There's multiple problems with the existing configuration. The smaller diameters allow people to go through the roundabouts faster than we'd like them to go. There's also sight distance problems, particularly on the northbound off-ramp side there. The existing bridge limits your sight distance. And so with this new design, sight distance is going to be improved, and the larger diameter roundabouts will force vehicles to travel at a slower speed. And so you'll get increased visibility and more time to make decisions.
Okay. And then I was also wondering, have you guys thought about looking at like maybe a dog bone where, the inside of the overpass, there's the extra, seems like it's like if a car wants to do a U-turn and circle back around, is there any way to eliminate that extra point of conflict and delay?
I think you could eliminate it. But I think that's also one of the benefits of the roundabouts is they allow vehicles to make U-turns.
So the immediate U-turn is what I'm talking about. Can't they go all the way through under the bridge and then do that U-turn?
Yes, that is possible. I think I'm not sure if Mark Johnson is on the line or not, but we've got a very like I said, one of the premier roundabout designers in the country, who that's what his expertise is.
Kevin, this is Joe Taylor. If I could jump in real quick. Mark actually was not able to connect, so I've been in his stead. And I was just going to add one thing to that. We did look extensively at whether or not to close that movement off in the design. There was a bit of evidence to show that movement actually does get used, but really the driver for leading that in had to do with some driveway restrictions that we had placed in on Dowling Road. We had limited some movements with our raised median, and so that was sort of an accommodation to allow people to make a U-turn and still enter into some businesses where we had maybe impacted some access previously. So there was a lot of thought that went into that, and those are the reasons why we kept that.
Thank you.
Okay. And then did you guys look at all, so for traffic heading south off of the highway, did you look at possibly providing a dedicated right-hand turn that would sweep and go right on to Dowling heading westbound? I realize you'd have to have a dedicated lane all the way down Dowling, but was that looked at all?
You're talking about off the highway?
Yeah, when you're getting off the highway, you're heading so southbound, getting off the highway, and you want to go west. You want to take a right on Dowling. Did you look at providing a dedicated lane so it would just sweep and be separate from the roundabout traffic?
I believe the design includes that.
Does it? Okay. It does. It's got a lane, but still it looks like they will still have to merge with the roundabout traffic coming under the bridge, heading east or heading west.
Well, there is a little bit of, you're exactly right. That is kind of the concept there. We're trying to minimize the width of that approach and shorten the distance that pedestrians actually have to cross. That's a tight right-of-way situation as well. And so we're pinned a little bit by right-of-way, but we're actually trying to minimize the width of that crossing. So there's second lane there, if you will, by intent.
Okay, good point. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like we have a question from Commissioner Winchester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question is, I'm not really understanding how making these bigger slows people down, because that particular, I mean, I watched the different sizes of the, and I'm just curious, how does that work? Because the roundabout seemed to, I mean, this particular one now, people travel through it 30 and 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Especially going east-west.
The concept behind the roundabouts are bigger, and that's certainly a design intent and a focus to look at. But that works in combination with the geometry that we provide on the approaches. So we actually moved Dowling Road to the north considerably to realign Dowling and give us room to put this geometry in on the approaches. So it's really a combination of the curvature coming in to the circles and the greater size of the circles. You simply have to drive more geometry. You have to steer more. You have less of a straight path, and that geometry is what works to slow that down.
So it's, I got it. I'm sorry. I do see that now. It was just, I was trying to look at it from the standpoint of increasing the size. I was like, how is that working? But I can see the geometry. Okay. The second question I have is the biggest issue, and of course here we are in Anchorage promoting bikes and pedestrians and everything, but the pedestrians are the biggest issue. And of course that situation that's there now is very difficult for pedestrians. And I'm glad to see the crosswalks and the flashers. Are those flashers actually where they will stop traffic, or are they just warning traffic that there's pedestrians?
Kevin, do you want to talk a little bit about those amber flashing beacons and just what how we're using those experimentally on the project?
Sure. Yeah. This would be the first time we've used these type of flashers. They're called rapid rectangular flashing beacons, and they don't actually necessarily stop the traffic. By law, it's not like a stoplight, but it does draw attention to the fact that a pedestrian is trying to cross, and all the data that we've looked at shows it increases the compliance significantly. And that, combined with the other geometric features that Joe just talked about, we're slowing people down, slowing the drivers down, and that in combination with the increased sight distance gives everyone more time to make decisions. We are installing these experimental features way of doing things, and that we don't have any experience with these yet, and the thought is that if for some reason they have a negative impact, we will take them out, and Federal Highways will still participate in the cost of installation. But I doubt that we're going to be taking them out. I think they'll stay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that there is something being done about the pedestrians getting through the roundabouts, because I've stood and watched, I've driven by and watched people standing there trying to figure out how they're ever going to get across any of the traffic, because the traffic just doesn't pay any attention. And so, yes, I'm very anxious to see how these work. And there's, other roundabouts that are similar scenarios, I think. The one at Huffman and New Seward, Old Seward, for instance, and some others that traffic does not slow down for. Especially if there's it's interesting. When there's a lot of traffic, they slow down, and when there's no traffic, sometimes they slow down. But it's that middle grade where traffic's just moving along very well that they just don't slow down at all. So, anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is a chair. I would like to, I apologize, I did not ask for the second petitioner representative to please spell your name, and if you could state it first again, then spell it, please. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. This is Joe Taylor, Taylor, with Lounsbury.
Thank you for the record. Okay, we have another question from Commissioner McKee.
Hi, sorry, I had to activate my phone to get the mute button off. Hi, Joe. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
So I have a couple of questions. So the diameter of the existing roundabout compared to the proposed roundabout, what is the diameter difference? And just for visualization, there's those double roundabouts like this over there at the end of C Street underneath the Minnesota bypass. So just so that we can visualize kind of what the end product of this will look like.
Joe, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think recall off the top of my head, they're different size, so I always get a little mixed up on them. But I think we're to 175 and 200 from 150. About on that order is how they're increasing.
Thank you. And then, do you know, and so I know that the diameter and the angles of deflection coming into the roundabout provide the gap opportunities, which is, I think, what Commissioner Baxley was asking about, was that opportunity, for cars to merge. Do you know what the gap opportunity improvement will be with the new configuration?
We do. I don't know it off the top of my head. That is detailed in our traffic and safety report. We did a detailed level of service analysis for our design year, and we discussed and addressed that. But I'd have to dig to give you that one off the top of my head.
All right, well, thank you. I'm really pleased and can't wait to see this be constructed. I know that the Dowling, roundabouts were a first trial in Anchorage, and it'll be nice to see these be brought up to more current standards, and they definitely will improve public safety, so that's a great thing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. It looks like we have another question from Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, first question, and maybe this is a question of the user. The edge of the inside of the perimeter of the roundabout, sometimes when it's moving along in Anchorage, I have noticed that there's you can't see very well where's the edge, and it gets icy, and it kind of gets the car a little out of control. I mean, of course, even if you're not going very fast. So that there's anything with the edge that can improve safety with the snow and ice?
I don't think there is. I know one of the issues with the existing roundabouts is there are these, the curb and gutter actually deflects out a little bit to encourage traffic to, as they're going on the outer one, to change lanes if they're going to head southbound or northbound on the Seward Highway. And I think I've seen vehicles hit that, but Joe, we don't have any deflectors on this one, do we, in the curb and gutter?
No. Yeah, no.
So it should be an improvement there too, but there's really nothing we can do, for the snow and ice on the inside of the gutter.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing and hearing none, I think we're moving on to, we would like to have a motion. Can I get a motion to approve the case? And a second. Looks like I have a motion to approve case 2020. Sorry, I lost my page. 0049. Do we have a second? There it is. Commissioner Baxley is seconded. Commissioner Cash, would you please state your motion? Commissioner Cash, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you please state?
Okay. Sorry, I had plugged into a microphone. I move to make a motion to approve case 2020-0049, excuse me, that's 2020-0049, the State of Alaska, Department of Transportation. The request is context-sensitive solution plans in hand review, the Dowling Road and Seward Highway interchange, approximately 900 feet east of the Dowling-Seward Highway interchange and extending 1,400 feet to the west along Dowling Road.
Thank you.
I'm in support of this. This motion to approve.
We can speak, Commissioner Cash. Commissioner Cash, I apologize to interrupt. We can speak to the motion after we have made sure that we have our second here. So we have a second from Commissioner Baxley. I'm confused now. Okay, Commissioner Baxley. Okay, now we can speak to your motion, Commissioner Cash.
Well, I would just like to say that I think that this is a very well documented plan, and the need is certainly here to widen it, slow traffic down, and I appreciate all the measures that they're taking to enlarge the roundabouts since they were constructed in 2003. And Planning and Zoning didn't have any conditions of approval. I appreciate the department recommendation A1 to include landscaping. This is compatible with Anchorage 2040 land use plans, and it will certainly improve conditions, community design goals of bicycle trails and pedestrian access and safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxley, would you care to speak to your second?
Yes, I second the motion to approve case 2020-0049. This case is consistent with DSR approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were no comments or no issues that were brought forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This also follows the 2040 land use plan of Anchorage. It accommodates pedestrians and vehicle traffic. It'll be really interesting to see how those beacons work. I also support this case based on the department's recommendation that this case is approved with a condition of approval to submit landscaping plans that include tree and shrub plantings in the roundabout circles that are consistent with prior public improvements and the design as originally proposed in the project renderings. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxley, for speaking to the department's recommendations and your findings.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to add any other findings to this case? Okay. Seeing that there and hearing there are no other discussion points, I will go ahead and move. Here we go. So we need a vote on the motion on the floor, case 2020-0049. Petitioner, State of Alaska, Context Sensitive Solutions Department, our Transportation Project Site Plan Review for Dowling Road, Seward Highway Interchange Reconstruction. And subject to department recommendations, and including these landscaping plans that should be submitted for the final approval. May we have a vote?
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Winchester?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Cash?
Yes.
Commissioner Baxley?
Yes.
Commissioner McKee?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
And Chair Reed has voted yes.
And it passes. Okay, moving on to, thank you, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Moving on to public hearings, I will read the procedure by which the public may speak to the Urban Design Commission. After the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Urban Design Commission Rules of Procedure. A, petitions including all of his or her representatives are given 10 minutes. Rebuttal by the petitioner may be allowed when time has been reserved. Representatives of groups, community councils, PTAs, etc., are given 5 minutes. Individuals 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the commission. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the commission. An individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Urban Design Commission takes, except commission recommendations to the Assembly, which are not appealable. Appeals must be filed with the clerk's office within 20 days after approval by the Urban Design Commission of the resolution, which is the commission's final decision. A fee for the appeal is required at the time of filing. Our first case is case 2020-0055. Petitioner is Matanuska Electric Association with a request for design variance from AMC 21.07.080H.3 to allow a 12-foot fence for the Matanuska Electric Association Parks Substation upgrade project. Which one? Carla. And Commissioner Baxley, I'm sure you will not be participating in this case. May we have the staff's presentation?
Thank you. The Matanuska Electric Association is requesting a variance from code to exceed the maximum fence height of 8 feet. Specifically, MEA would like to build a 12-foot fence enclosing the park substation, which is an existing electrical substation in a predominantly low-density residential neighborhood in Chugiak. The installation of the 12-foot fence would occur as part of wider facility upgrades for the site, which the Planning and Zoning Commission is reviewing through a conditional use application currently scheduled for June 1st, 2020. No substantive comments were received from reviewing agencies, and there were no comments from the Birchwood Community Council or the public. Looking at findings, per AMC 2103-240, the application for variance must substantially meet the following standards in order to be approved. Standard A, the proposed alternative achieves the intent of this subject design standard to the same or better degree than the subject standard. The standard is substantially met. The proposed 12-foot fence design achieves the intent of municipal code to a better degree than the existing standard of 8 feet because it allows the fence to comply with the recommendations of Section 11 of the National Electric Safety Code, the NESC, and it provides enhanced visual screening for the single-family residences surrounding the substation. Standard B, the proposed alternative achieves the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan to the same or better degree than the subject standard. This standard is substantially met. Generally, this variance does not substantially impact the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. As the applicant states, however, the proposed design may advance the goal to provide public facilities and services that are located, designed, and maintained to accommodate current and future needs of the area in an effective, cost-efficient, and timely manner, and the goal to encourage development patterns and site designs which protect natural amenities, scenic vistas, general community character, and also promote safe and healthy environments. And these goals are both contained within the 2006 Chugiak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan update. Standard C, the proposed alternative results in benefits to the community that are equivalent to or better than the compliance with subject standard. The standard is substantially met. A 12-foot fence would comply with Section 11 of the NESC, and conforming to the NESC is a clear improvement over the existing 8-foot fence standard because it allows the substation to meet national standards for safety and to deter theft or vandalism. In addition, residents adjacent to the existing facility have requested an increased fence height up to 12 feet to further screen the facility from view. Standard D, the variance, if granted, will not adversely affect the use of adjacent property. This standard is substantially met. The increased fence height of 12 feet would not adversely affect the use of adjacent property. In fact, the surrounding residents have specifically requested a higher fence to help mitigate the impacts of the substation facility upgrades. And standard E, the variance, if granted, does not change the character of the zoning district where the property is located, is in keeping with the intent of the code, and does not permit a use of not otherwise permitted. The standard is substantially met. The increased fence height permitted by this variance would not change the character of the CER6 zoning district in which it is located, and is in keeping with the intent of Title 21. It also would not allow a prohibited use. Standard F, persons with disabilities are provided with access as required by the ADA and a reasonable accommodation. The standard is substantially met. The park substation is an unmanned facility with an access-controlled gate, so the standard really doesn't apply. The variance, if granted, does not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the municipality. This standard is also substantially met. The variance would enhance the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the municipality by conforming to NESC standards for electrical safety. And in this case, the fence height of 12 feet combined with an enhanced wood-slatted design would help mitigate the visual impact of the facility on adjacent properties. And standard H is not applicable because it does not involve a sign. In considering this, the department recommends approval of the variance subject to the condition on page 5 of the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the staff? Seeing and hearing none. Is there a petitioner online who would like to speak?
Hi, yes, this is Juan Lee with R&M Consultants.
And can you spell your name, Juan?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, my name is spelled V as in Victor, A-N. Last name is Lee, L-E.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry. Would you like to reserve any time of your 10 minutes for rebuttal?
Yes, I would like to reserve the remaining time after my presentation for rebuttal, please.
Okay.
Okay, through the chair, thank you again. I'm with R&M Consultants representing Matanuska Electric Association on this design variance, MEA for short.
Also on the line is Haley Style, MEA's project manager, if there are any questions for her later. First, I'd like to thank staff for the excellent overview and presentation of the technical merits of the fence height variance. We agree with staff and the planning department's recommendations for this fence height variance. For my presentation, I would actually like to share my screen to visually show you the existing fence and the proposed fence that's the subject of this design variance, and also to go over the goals of MEA's safety, security, and screening. So let me just put my screen up. Okay, so can someone confirm that that's visible to everybody?
I see it here in the chambers.
Okay, great. So just a little background, the Justine Park substation, or Park substation for short, is named after a resident of Chuyac Birchwood area who was an advocate for bringing electrical service to the area as it was growing and developing over 47 years ago. Back when the substation was built, the area was actually an undeveloped field and no residential development around it. The community has since grown up around the substation, and that's why the screening through fencing and also proposed landscaping is really important for the residents around the area. And that's why we're here today, is to meet that intent, as well as meeting the National Electrical Safety Code that Colin mentioned earlier. So what we have on this board here is the existing fence. It is a not very aesthetically pleasing, but very functional fence to keep the electrical equipment, the existing electrical substation, safe and secure from trespassers or vandalism, as well as keeping the public safe, because it is live conductors, live electrical equipment that is in the current substation. So it's functional, but not doesn't fit in with the adjacent residential as well as it could be. So what we have here is the proposed fence. This is a rendering along with proposed landscaping as part of the greater site improvements. We wanted to show the 1 to 2 years and why the screening, the 12-foot screening fence is really important. As you know, with landscaping, even if you pay for the somewhat larger trees, it takes a few years for those trees to mature in our Alaskan climate. So what we have for this first board is the 1 to 2 years after the fence, electrical equipment is upgraded, and the landscaping. So the community has asked us for a higher fence than the 10-foot just because the screening from the landscaping is going to take probably 8 to 10 years to mature to really provide that screening benefit. The area, as we mentioned, is mostly is all residential, actually, rural residential, large lot in Chuyac. And so we wanted to propose the wood Trex-like fence so that it blends in better with the character of the neighborhood. Here's another rendering that shows another view of the existing fence, the chain link, and then proposed fence, and what that would look like with mature landscaping in the future. And then this is the internal site with what it looks like now and what the landscaping and the fence, the 12-foot fence, will look like 1 to 2 years after improvements are made, including landscaping, and then mature. So those trees in the future will provide a lot of great screening benefit and buffering benefit, but 1 to 2 years after construction and planting, the fence is going to provide better screening. And then lastly, this shows the existing view from the adjacent residential property looking into the substation. The image on the right, or the rendering, shows the 12-foot fence shortly after construction, then the landscaping 1 to 2 years, and then the bottom picture shows mature landscaping 8 to 10 years after it's had a chance to mature. So with that, I just want to reiterate that the 12-foot fence is really a community desire, and MEA, wanting to be a good neighbor, is willing to pay for a taller fence and to construct it for screening, safety, as well as just out of a desire to be a good neighbor to the residential community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Are there any questions for the petitioner? Seeing, Commissioner McKee.
Hi, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So us that you said that the residents support the 12-foot fence. Were the two homeowners that look like they're most closely affected, the one to the south and the one to the west? I'm assuming those are the ones that you've reached out to and confirmed that they would like this fence constructed.
Correct.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. In slide 5 of 5, it looks like in order to construct the fence, they will lose some of their existing trees in that before picture, and that homeowner is aware of that.
Correct. The homeowner that you're speaking of is to the west. That is the most adjacent property to the project. The homeowners to the south are actually buffered by a hill, so they actually don't see the fence or the substation currently. There's a big hill there. But the adjacent property to the west, and actually they have an agreement with MEA at the moment to move and to sell the property for this development, as well as they're retiring and planning to move out of the area.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, because sometimes people don't realize that they're going to actually lose trees that are on their property when you construct a fence, and then it's a surprise. So I just wanted to be sure that they understood that those trees that we see in that before picture are going to be coming down, and they wouldn't have a tree buffer again for a while, but it sounds like it's a moot point because they're selling the property.
Right, and they're actually a party to this variance request as well. Because they do own that adjacent property. And just to clarify, Commissioner McKee, that's a good question, but the trees and the fence will be on MEA property and not being built on the adjacent residential property, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
And then has there been any thought to using a larger diameter tree so that we get to that mature growth just a little bit sooner?
Yes, let me just show you this rendering here, which has some of the tree species. So we are proposing several different species depending on where they're located. So Colorado green spruce is being proposed adjacent to the property to the west. We have some wet areas. We're proposing tamarack, and then the other trees are spruce. And these trees, as I've been told, are going to be around 8 feet when they're first planted. So that's a pretty large tree, but still not enough when they're first planted to provide that screening and buffering benefit that the community has desired until the probably 8 to 10 years or longer when they can mature.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we will now open the hearing to public testimony. Staff, is there anyone wishing to testify?
Yes, we do have 5 public testimonies.
Okay, are we just call them in? Oh, you're calling, okay.
Yep, we'll call them in and then they'll start.
Digit 0 or 1 is...
Hello. Hi, is this Karen Perry?
Yeah.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for your public testimony for case 2020-0055.
Correct.
Okay. Are you an individual or a representative of a group?
We have 2 individuals here, my husband and myself, and my husband wants to speak first.
Okay, great. Before he starts, if he could state his name, then his 3 minutes will start, and then you can go directly after him, and then your 3 minutes will restart as well.
Okay, thank you.
And if there's no questions from the commission after both of your public testimonies, the call will end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi.
Just talk.
Yeah, hi. Am I on?
Yep, Rod, if you could state your name for the record, then your time will start.
Okay, really good. Yeah, my name is Roderick Perry. I've lived in the Birchwood area. Do I need to spell my name? Let's see, RODERICPERRY. This fall will make 45 years living on Birchwood Loop. I want to say that as I have listened to what's been going on here in the last few minutes, it makes my blood boil. There's so many misrepresentations, inaccuracies, and untruths. We were not conferred with about this fence. And let me just go on with what I had prepared. MEA's MO from the beginning of this project has been that of deception, doing end-arounds, circumventing regulations, and continuing work on components of the project before gaining final official go-aheads or public agreement. A continuing pattern has been to complete small parts of the project before official go-ahead to build up a body of completed on-site work that makes it seem too big of an investment to tear down. This fence business is one example. They continually spend money without either waiting or progressing in an ethical manner. For those who have not been in the thick of this battle over the years, you might wonder how the words steamrolling and sneaky could be worked into the same sentence describing MEA's strategies. But here is an example. As they steamroll over the objections of adjacent property owners and Birchwood residential neighborhood zoning philosophy, they advance this seemingly inoffensive choice of, do we want a 6-foot fence or one of 12 feet? And they claim that according to the Birchwood Community Council decision on fence height, that's the main question that needs to be settled at this time. I can tell you that according to the surrounding neighbors who are most immediately impacted, and we just held a neighborhood meeting the other night, that could not be farther from the truth. We have really been left out of the discussion. Since the March Community Council meeting, and this is really key here, since the March Community Council meeting where MEA presented their project plans, Birchwood Community Council has never gathered the community to consider anything, much less draft a resolution. Not long after that March meeting, such gatherings were prohibited by Governor Dunleavy and Mayor Berkowitz. While MEA has progressed with their work, we have been legally prevented from joining to work on a Birchwood Community Council resolution. The main part of my testimony is that it is only fair that counting from the last council meeting in March until the next council meeting where unlimited numbers are allowed by the governor and mayor to assemble, it's only fair that we be extended that number of days from that point on to work on a resolution. Thank you for listening, and please delay the vote on this. I can tell you there is no agreement on a lot of this stuff that these people are shoving that there has been neighborhood agreement on. None at all.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Mr. Berry, I apologize for interrupting. Your 3 minutes are over. If there's anyone that wants.
Okay. Here's my wife.
Thank you.
Okay, so
can you please? I'm sorry.
Difficult situation by.
Can you please?
At the phone, it's hard to hear you guys, and everything echoes. So, well, that'll be part of my testimony. My name is Karen Perry, Karen Perry, and I have lived in Chugach for 35 plus years. We have raised 5 children in our community, and with them working alongside us, have built this home here in our neighborhood, our forever home. We are the South property that MEA is talking about, and we vehemently oppose this entire project, regardless of fence size. And the property to the west, they had to buy him out, and I'd like to know what his sellout price was in order for this project to even be an idea to even happen, because the rest of us are against it. I humbly request that no fence be put around this project simply because this invasive and humongous quote-unquote upgrade does not belong in a residential neighborhood. The project is more than a simple upgrade. There is no fence that can mitigate the fact that MEA illegally clear-cut a CER6 residential lot back in 2012. And after 3 years of pushback on that project from 2012 to 2015, they lost not once, not twice, but 3 times, including an appeal to the Planning and Zoning Board. Now they want to acquire the property to the west, even more residential property for this behemoth project. This is just too large of a project, and I and my neighbors are more than aghast at the arrogance of MEA to keep pushing this project forward when there are other options in commercial areas that they simply refuse to explore seriously. They have absolutely no regard for our feedback, our way of life out here, and the massive intrusion that this project is in our rural neighborhood. So I would ask 2 things of you before you make a decision, please. These 2 things are, number 1, please put a delay on voting on this project for a minimum of 2 months, but preferably until after all the COVID mandates are lifted, both at the local and state levels. In the presentation, the paperwork said there was no comments from the Birchwood Community Council and individuals. That's because MEA presented this at the March 11th meeting, and we have had no April and May meetings. We can't meet together. So number 1, I would ask that you would delay the vote. And also I would like to come and talk to you face to face. This over the phone, everything echoes. It's hard to understand what people are saying. It would be better to be in person other than just words on a page or a voice on the phone. We want to be seen as real people with real concerns, longtime local taxpayers that need to be taken very seriously. Also, please, I beg of you to drive out to this neighborhood and see with your own eyes. The diagrams that MEA presents is just a 2-dimensional piece of pretty picture on a paper. Please come out and drive out and see what we see. We had no inkling when we bought our property that at some point down the road, MEA would want to increase the size and scope of this project, not by 100%, not by 500%, not by 1,000%, but by 1,800%. Not only in footprint size, but by acquiring 2 other...
Mrs. Perry, I apologize. I know you're upset, but your 3 minutes are up, and I think we understand what your concerns are, and we appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions for Ms. Perry?
It's even fair to only get 3 minutes.
Seeing that there's no questions, I think we need to move on to the next testifier. I appreciate your call.
Please drive out here. Please drive out here and see.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Hello?
Hi, this is Valerie Davies.
Yes.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for case 2020-0055.
Yes.
Are you an individual or representative of a group?
Individual.
Perfect. You'll have 3 minutes for your public testimony. Before you begin, if you could mute, if you have your television or computer streaming the meeting, if you can mute that will help with echo and feedback. Once you state your name for the record.
Will I be able to hear them ask me questions if I have it muted?
Yep, if we can just have you muted while you're speaking, I think that would be best. So once you state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes. If there are no questions for you after your testimony, the call will be ended. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Am I on now?
You may proceed.
I'm sorry, what?
You may proceed.
I can't hear you.
Valerie, we can hear you. If you can state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes once you start.
Oh, okay. Valerie Davies, VALERIE DAVIES.
Go ahead.
I'm calling to encourage you to vote against the fence. MEA has been very misleading in the things that they've presented, saying that the community desires this fence is completely misleading. I don't know of any neighbor who approved their desires of this fence or any of the upgrades that they're proposing to do. it doesn't fit in the aesthetics of our neighborhood. It's a small, quiet community, and we prefer it to be that way. This is a commercial upgrade in a residential area that doesn't belong, and there's other places to put it. The community council has been unable to meet due to the COVID-19 restrictions, and I would request that you put this vote to hold until our virtual community council is able to meet again with no restrictions, so that we can present this and get comments from them as well. The fence, I think, is also a bit sneaky on MEA's behalf, trying to put up this fence so that they can proceed with their project. It doesn't belong in this neighborhood. It shouldn't be here, and that's my thoughts. And they're being very misleading to you. And I live just catty corner to that property, and I do not approve. So I don't know what community they think they talk to get approval.
Thank you. Is there something in the background on in your home? We're getting some cross talk here in online here. Can you hear me?
Not sure at all. I can hear mumbling, but I can't hear anything clear. Are you speaking directly into a phone, or?
Valerie, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? There's something wrong with my mic.
I can hear noise. I just can't hear anything other than like a mumble, like a mumbling.
Okay, I think our chair's mic might be a little bit going through a malfunction right now. So we can hear you. It's just you are not hearing the chair. We're switching out her mic right now. If you can hang tight for just one moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I could hear you. It's very echoey, though. This is a terrible way to conduct a meeting.
It's not ideal. I agree. Okay, I appreciate your testimony. Were you done? You still have another minute 25, and I apologize. You were a little bit mumbly. I think I got your testimony for the most part. Are there any questions for this testimony? Is there anyone who wishes to ask a question? I'm reading.
I don't know if you're speaking to me. I can't hear anything that you're saying. I can just hear noise.
No, I'm asking the commission if they have questions for you. Just one moment, please. There's a lot of conversation through the chat here that I need to read. One moment, please.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to end the call because I can't hear anything that you're saying.
We appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Okay.
They couldn't hear her, and
Are they only hearing you through my mic?
I don't know. Can you all? They're saying in chat they can hear me at home
But
right now.
the person on the phone. It's something with her. Okay.
Maybe Okay. It's not me. It's not me. I can still. Okay, whatever.
Are you ready to move on, or do you want to figure it out?
I think we're ready to move on. I think it was just technical difficulties from that one. Yeah.
Hello?
Hi, is this Dan?
Yes.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for your public testimony for case 2020-0055. Are you an individual or a representative of a group?
Just me.
Okay, you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony. Once you state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes. If there are no questions after your testimony, we'll end the call.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Dan Jaswinski, and I live about 150 feet from the house that they show straight to the west. MEA has never contacted me. all of their pictures are at least 3 years old because this house has been up for over 3 years. They have never contacted me or any of us neighbors. We do not want the fence. We don't want the project. And we would really like to get this thing postponed until we can get in with our community council. The only contact that MEA has ever had with any of us was they sent us a letter for the meeting for our community council. We went to that. We have not been able to meet since then. We're all set and ready to go to another meeting, but we're not allowed to. And we would really appreciate if this entire permitting process and everything was being put on hold until we can at least get our input through our community council. I really can't stress how bad MEA likes to represent themselves. Or I mean, they're not truthful. They weren't truthful to us at the other meeting. And that's really all I have. Is I sure would like this thing to be at least put on hold, if not turned down. That's really all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Jaswinski? Seeing none, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Laura.
Hi, Laura. This is the Urban Design Commission calling for your public testimony for case 2020-0055.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you an individual or a representative of a group?
Individual.
Perfect. You'll have 3 minutes for your public testimony. If there are no questions after, the call will be ended. You can state your name for the record, and then you can begin.
Okay, thank you. My name is Laura Suarez, and I grew up on one of the streets affected by the potential project going on. I've grown up here my whole life. My husband and I moved back to the same street to raise our kids here, and we both oppose this project. And I'm listening to the public testimony, and it's very difficult to hear the phone calls that are coming through, and it's difficult to hear you from this end. And I think the first thing would be that we can just delay this decision until our Birchwood Community Council meeting is able to meet together in person after all the health mandates are lifted, and also that we would be able to, potentially speak to planning and zoning in person once all the health mandates are lifted. So if the decision could just be postponed until then, I know all the residents on this street would highly appreciate it, and all parties who are affected by, the decisions that are about to be made. And we were involved in this fight when MEA was trying to proceed with some of the projects that they have planned on that piece of property years ago, and now they're coming back and trying to redo it. They're talking about debates between a 10-foot fence, a 12-foot fence versus the 6-foot fence they first proposed, and honestly, the scale of that project that they're trying to put in right now, you would need 70-foot fences at that point to really obscure the project and make it pleasing to the neighborhood eye. And at that point, the 70-foot fences would be so ugly that no fence at all would be required. So we just ask that this project not go ahead at all, that their permit for the building the fence would be denied, because we don't want the fence. We don't want the project at all. And if you drive up and down the two streets that are affected, Steffi Street and White Birch, you'll see the really beautiful area that this is, and we just don't want an industrial-sized substation on our streets in this R6 neighborhood, this residential neighborhood. It's just too big of a project, what they're planning, and there are plenty of other places that they could do this project, and they just need to take it somewhere else. We don't want it here. We don't want it on our streets. We don't want to have to look at it. We don't want to have to deal with the consequences of our property values going down. It just needs to move somewhere else. So I guess what I would say is we don't want a fence. We don't want the project at all. And if you guys could at least delay this decision until all the health mandates are lifted, and we're able to meet together in person at our virtual community council meeting to discuss further plans as a community, we would all really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we do have a question. Commissioner Morse would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
It's very, very difficult to hear. It's very, very echoey.
Okay, I will speak loud and slow, or try to. Thank you for your patience. We're all struggling through this. It's our first meeting as a commission in this format, so thank you again for your patience. My question, and I'm hearing the same feedback from all of the neighbors. It sounds like you're all aware that there's also a planning and zoning meeting coming up. The Urban Design Commission has only been asked to review a fence variance, which would allow a 12-foot fence in place of an 8-foot fence.
I'm sorry, it's just so difficult to hear what you're saying. So this would really be a better conversation held in perfect.
Laura?
If you could, I know this is difficult for you guys too. If you could speak really slowly and enunciate, it just sounds like you're 10 miles away in an echo.
Laura,
would you mind asking the question again?
I can repeat the question. If we can get it from our commissioner, I can repeat it to you if that's easier.
Yes, that would be so much easier. Your voice is much easier to hear.
Yep, hang tight. Let's get the question from the commissioner, and then I can relay that to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Question 1 was, do the petitioners understand, does this petitioner understand that we're only reviewing the fence variance for the height difference?
Laura, the question from Commissioner Morse was if you are in the other residents are aware that the Urban Design Commission is only reviewing the request for a fence variance for the fence height, and that the actual substation will be going to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval.
Yes, we understand that. We understand that you guys aren't who we're really fighting against here. You guys aren't who we're opposing, so I apologize that we're all getting a little worked up. Our point is, we don't want the fence variance at all. We don't want them to get their foot in the door to say, well, we've already invested in this fence, so we've already invested in it, we've invested in this property, we'd like to continue on with some of the projects here. We don't want any fence height, we don't want any fence, we don't want them, so that is why we're opposing the fence, period, in and out.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Thanks, Laura.
And thank you guys for your patience. Bye-bye.
Did she leave?
She did leave.
She did, okay.
And that's the end of the public testimony.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner still online, and would you like to use your remaining time for rebuttal?
Thank you. Yes, I am still online. How many minutes do I have?
You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, this is Juan Lee again with R&M Consultants. I just want to say I appreciate Commissioner Morse's clarification of the case before us tonight, which is the fence height variance. There is an existing fence there, and so MEA is proposing to replace that fence with a fence that is required of them for substations based on the National Electrical Safety Code, which is a 10-foot fence. The zoning district, Chugiak Eagle River R6, does allow an 8-foot fence, but the variance is to build at least a 10-foot fence. And that is what MEA would have proposed, and we still have to get a variance. But we're here because we did hear that a 12-foot fence would provide better buffering and screening. And that came up from the February 12th Birchwood Community Council meeting. And we do have summaries of that. The Birchwood Community Council also summarized that meeting where that request was asked of the project team, including MEA, and that's where that request came from. So I hear the residents tonight and their testimony, and I understand that even though they don't want the project, it's an existing substation that has to go through an upgrade because it is 47 years old. It is near the end of its useful infrastructure life, and it is permitted through conditional use. It's existing in this residential district, and it's getting upgraded, but it's not. We're not building an entire new substation. It is on the existing site. So I just want to reiterate that. And some of the issues that we heard tonight from the residents, like Commissioner Morse mentioned, are addressed through the conditional use land use permitting process. This project did meet and exceed Title 21 code requirements for public noticing, including letters to residents in the area last year in August. I personally sent them out myself, notifying residents of the project start, land surveying, some testing, electrical testing. We've sent out postcards. We have obviously paid our public hearing fees, and the planning department has also sent out public notices as well as site location notices to the residents. If you drive by, you can see that those public hearing sites are on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Are there any questions of the petitioner or of staff? If not, the public hearing is now closed. Commissioner Cash.
Hi, just one quick question. Could you please confirm for me that the proposed replacement fence will be positioned in the same location as the current chain link fence? Is it the same footprint?
Through the chair, yes. This is Ron Lee with R&M Consultants. Yes, it will be in the exact location as the existing fence is, except for on the western boundary adjacent to the property to the west.
Could you clarify that for me, please?
Certainly. The reason I say that is there was a replat of this site that was recently approved through an administrative short plat, so just changing the lot line between this MEA property and the adjacent property owner's property. That adjacent property owner is also a party or a petitioner to that project as well as this fence height variance. And that is why the fence is going to move slightly because of the adjustment in the lot line between the two properties. But otherwise, then all the other perimeter fencing will be in the same location.
Thank you. And can you tell me approximately how much it increases the area?
The fence?
The area within the fence, does it increase the size, the area of the project?
Yes, so the new lot line adjustment through that replat action recently does increase the size of the substation lot.
Okay, I'm trying to find it in my packet.
Point of privilege, I guess, to the chair. Would it be possible for the petitioner to display on the screen again the plan?
Ms. Lee, is this possible? Yes, I think it is. Let's do that.
Yes.
That would be appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner Morse. And Ms. Lee, do you want to clarify what we're looking at here as far as that west boundary lot line?
Sorry, I was on mute. To Commissioner Cash's question regarding the fence, this line here around the perimeter is the fence, and the 15 feet of landscape buffering is outside of that.
Okay, thank you. So just to confirm, the new fence will go on the same lines That is the new fence that we're seeing just outside. Is it just outside of the former fence area?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering my question.
If I may ask, on that same line, is on sheet 1 of 3 for the fence plan, it looks like there's 30 feet to be replatted to Lot 1. Is that correct? On that west boundary?
That is correct. And that has been replatted. It has been approved.
Okay. Thank you. We have lots of questions. Commissioner Morse?
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if the petitioner could draw roughly in her PDF program the current extent of the fence so that we can compare them on the screen together.
Mr. Chair, I can definitely see my tool will work. No, that's not what I want. Hold on. I'm sorry, Commissioner Morris, I have the rendering up again. What was the question?
If you could just demonstrate what fence line moved and about how far for all of us.
So this is the original property line here, this dash line, and the replat allowed for this additional section here, which allowed us to have the buffering landscaping here. The original fence is roughly on the property line, but actually it's moving inward towards the project. Can you see that? Yeah. I can't seem to get my draw tool to work.
Just to clarify, it sounds like the enclosed, from the current description, the amount of enclosed area within the fence is not increasing.
No. The additional buffering allows for the additional landscaping and also room for drainage facilities on site.
Thank you. That was the clarification needed.
If I can actually just clarify for on the fence, this is Haley Sile with MEA. So the existing fence, it actually was shifted about 20 feet to the. It was right on the property line on the Steffi Street side, and then the existing fence also went further south. So the area of the fence is shifting back to the west in order for us to get that setback that we need in the front. And then it'll also be a little bit smaller because we're not enclosing as much on the south side. That is where the landscaping is.
Thank you for the clarification. That's all, Chair.
I believe the next person in line here is Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, hi. Just obviously the community has some concerns, and unfortunately we can't do anything because we cannot approve or disapprove the project. I conclude with Commissioner Moore that we're here to approve the fence. I think the fence is improving safety and security. and screening. But my question to one is, I think she mentioned that the substation being there for 47 years. What's the year that the houses around the substation started getting built? Through the engagement team first.
Through the chair, I actually don't. I know that the Perrys mentioned having lived here in the area for over 30, 35 years. The substation is 47 years old, and it was here before the homes were built. So it was here when this area was not subdivided or built into a residential development. The community grew as a result of having power, electricity, infrastructure for that growth. But to answer your question specifically, I don't know when the other houses were built. They were built after the substation. I know there is a house that was built in 2018 that is close by after obviously the substation has been there.
Okay. It seems like probably was before the neighborhood, but thank you, that helps.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan, it looks like we have a question from Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if this is really germane to our discussions, but I'm very curious. Is the size and structure of the substation being altered in this process? You understand my question?
Ms. Lee?
Can you please repeat the question?
Are you changing the size and structure and substance of the substation that's in there? Is that going to be increased in size?
Through the chair, Haley, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. So we are still staying with the 115 kV and the electrical voltage and everything is staying the same. However, there are going to be additional structures. Some of the current existing transmission structures are like 40 to 45 feet tall, and in order for us to meet the electrical code and clearances now with this upgrade, they will be 70 feet tall. So there is definitely increasing, but the actual electrical voltage and everything is staying the same.
Okay, thank you very much.
Actually, and through the chair, this is Wami, but I would just like to add that even though we have more equipment for this proposed project, the lot coverage that's allowed by this code in the zoning district, we're only doing, we have 6% lot coverage with the proposed project.
Okay, are there any other questions of staff or the petitioner? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Oh, we have a question from staff or a statement from staff. Mr. Hodges?
Yes, I believe this has been brought up during this process, but just to reiterate that the any expansion of the facility itself will be covered under the Planning and Zoning Commission conditional use. This is only a variance for the height of the fence that's enclosing the substation, and that the two projects are certainly related, but the actual expansion of the facility will be covered in the conditional use.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or if anyone wants to speak, we're going to close the public hearing. Oh, Commissioner McKee?
I have a question. If we approve a fence height variance, does that at all affect the determination of whether or not they'll allow the larger substation to be constructed?
No, it does not. The fence variance is only for the height of the fence that could be constructed around the facility, not the new substation, the the upgraded substation if the substation were to be built pursuant to the conditional use. So this fence height variance just allows that to occur if the conditional use is approved at the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if we approve a height variance to a fence, it doesn't give them, more or less, weight with the other commission.
No, they're separate cases and would be considered under separate criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. May we have a motion? If someone could please type motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Morse. Could you please state your motion?
Sure can, Madam Chair. Do you need a second?
We're going to go in the order of you state your motion, and then I will speak to the or I will ask for the second.
I move to approve case 2020-0055, the variance for allowance of a 12-foot fence on all sides of the NEAE Parks substation, with the department recommendation number 1, which is the variance being filed with the notice of any action.
Thank you. And we have a second from Commissioner Winchester. Commissioner Morse, would you care to speak to your motion?
I would encourage discussion from my fellow commissioners. I know this is difficult. I intend to support this motion. I would like to note some findings that include the challenging public process that the community is facing in gathering and coming up with a community opinion. We do note that, however, this fence, the single issue that is in front of the Urban Design Commission today is a taller fence. I see that the Electric Association is shrinking their footprint of actual fenced area, and we intend to upgrade the actual fencing material. I think that's, please commissioners chime in. I'm sure I missed something.
Okay. Are you done for now, Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Winchester, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I do support the motion, and I do support the findings that Commissioner Morse has brought forward. I would also like to add that all of the standards for which this variance has been brought forward, including A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, are substantially met, and those have been carefully read into the public comment by the staff. The second thing is that I would like to, so all of those standards are met on the basis of what we're looking at. The second thing is that I do think that the petitioner has done a pretty remarkable job in what is an often difficult situation of a power facility that is now grown up around with residential. The fencing is one issue, and then the additional landscaping and the purchasing of additional property to provide a large landscape boundary around this facility, I think, is a pretty intense effort to try to deal with a situation where you have a 50-year-old facility that has to be upgraded, or none of these people will have power, and then you have to provide what the codes and all the new facilities require. So I'm going to support the motion. Again, it's with the clarity, of course, that the The Planning and Zoning Commission is yet to act on this, and they have a set of criteria to deal with that is beyond a fence height in terms of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have some discussion from Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I intend to support the motion as well. I understand that these are difficult times for people to get in and get what they may consider to be a fair and complete hearing. That being said, I think it's sometimes a little unfortunate people make some accusations that they may think are completely true and reasonable, but seem to be a little bit over the top from my position. But I do intend to support the motion, because this is within the purview of this commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Cash, did you have something to say too?
Yes, I wanted to also express my support for this variance and appreciate the patience that's having to be exerted by our petitioner and testifiers also. To me, there are two core items here. It seems to me that the core of this is meeting the Section 11 recommendations of the National Electric Safety Code and making certain that the minimum height of 7 feet is not compromised. I mean, that's with snowdrift, and that is not compromised at all, because in doing so, in raising the height, it is protect safety, security, and resist, vandalism and other negative impacts on individuals and on the safety of the electrical system. And then it also provides this aesthetic visual screening. And so on the basis of those two important elements, I think, yes, I'm supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, do so now. Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve variance to allow a 12-foot fence on all sides of the Matanuska Electric Association Park substation, case 2020-0055, subject to the department's recommendations. May we have a vote?
Commissioner Sullivan? Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Winchester?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Cash?
Yes.
Commissioner McKee?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lee and Ms. Seale. My apologies if I mispronounced your name, but thank you very much for your presentation this evening. Moving forward in our agenda, we would like Commissioner Baxley to rejoin for our next case, and Commissioner McKee will recuse herself. She's leaving? Okay, so the next case on the agenda is 2020-0056. Petitioner is the Municipality of Anchorage Parks and Recreation, and they're here for a major site plan review for Takishla Park Improvements Project. May we have the staff's presentation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Municipality of Anchorage Parks and Recreation Department is requesting approval of a major site plan review application for several site improvements to Takishla Park. These improvements will assist in implementing the recommendations identified in the 2018 Takishla Park Master Plan. These improvements will largely be within the footprint of the existing facilities and will enhance the function of park amenities. The Planning Department has reviewed the application and presents the following findings to the Commission. For approval criteria 1, we believe the criteria is met. The proposed improvements are implementing the recommendations identified in the 2018 Tekushla Park Master Plan, and this master plan was developed through an extensive public outreach campaign conducted by Parks and Recreation Department to obtain public input. This campaign involved presentations to local communities, social media updates, 3 advisory group meetings, 2 open house events, 2 online surveys, and a student workshop comprised of 6th graders from Airport Heights Elementary School. It's also important to note that there are no conflicts with the underlying plat or any other land use approval. For approval criteria 2, we believe the criteria is met. The petition site is zoned to PLIP, which is Public Lands and Institutions Park. This project will further the intent of the underlying zoning district by enhancing the functions of the dedicated park located within it. There are no conflicts with the proposed plans and the dimensional standards of Anchorage Municipal Code. The improvements are compliant with these standards. There will be no structures placed within required setbacks. The submitted site plan is compliant with Anchorage Municipal Code design standards. The existing landscaping, which meets or exceeds the requirements for parking lot perimeter and site perimeter landscaping, will be retained. Interior parking lot landscaping meeting applicable code requirements will be installed within 2 landscaped islands centered inside of the redesigned parking lot. Additional off-street parking requirements for this use beyond those required for each ball field are determined by the planning director and traffic engineer in accordance with Anchorage Municipal Code. Comments provided by the traffic department indicate that adequate off-street parking is provided. For approval criteria 3, we believe the criteria is met. The requested improvements will enhance the function of the park by increasing recreation opportunities, visitor safety, and park aesthetics. The majority of park facilities and lighting are screened from view of surrounding properties with mature vegetation that will remain. These improvements are entirely intended to increase park value, visitation, and neighborhood use. The additional visitation will likely result in increased pedestrian and vehicular traffic, as well as increased noise originating from the park. However, an increase in park use is a sign of design success and should not be considered a detriment to the use of the surrounding properties, but rather a community improvement. For criteria 4, this project is compliant with the following goals of applicable comprehensive plans. And with the Anchorage 2020 Anchorage Bowl Comprehensive Plan, those would be policies 41, 44, 50, 65, 67, and policy 70. The Anchorage 2040 Land Use Plan, it's compliant with Land Use Policy 8.1 and Land Use Policy 8.2. Given this analysis, the department does recommend approval with the condition of approval on page 6 of the staff report. It's also important to note that we did receive 1 late comment from the Airport Heights Community Council that indicates full support of the project, and those comments in full detail were sent to the Urban Design Commission members before the meeting. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, is the petitioner online? If you are, could you please state your name, spell it, and let me know if you need any time for rebuttal.
Hello, this is Tanya Hickok, HICKOK, petitioner's representative from the Boutte Company. On the line with me tonight also is Stephen Rafus, who is the Municipal Parks Superintendent, and he can be available for questions if needed.
Thank you.
And if I could, I'd like to reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal if I need it.
2 minutes, that will do. Thank you. Go ahead.
And then if I also could, if I could share some content.
Absolutely, we'll set that up.
How's that looking?
We can see that. That's good.
Perfect. So here what we have is the presentation board that we presented at the open house, or excuse me, the Airport Heights committee meeting. And this is very similar to the site plan in your application package. It shows all the site improvements that we are proposing. They are in line, as staff has indicated, with the previously approved 2018 Takishla Park Master Plan. One of the main improvements are improving parking lot layout. There has been some nefarious activities with drug activity in the northwest corner of the parking lot, the existing parking lot. And one of the goals was to improve the safety and visibility of the parking lot. So we've reduced the footprint of the parking lot, took out the large berm of landscaping and reduced it to Title 21 compliant landscaping that are a little bit more visible to provide more visibility in the parking lot. And with that, extra material, as well as some classified materials that we'll be able to reuse during construction, we were able to construct a little sledding hill as another amenity to the park. You'll see that labeled as number 9. As you go further into the park, into the eastern portion of it, you can see that we added the new playground to the south of the existing trail, the bike park trail. And it has an open plaza, plenty of seating. It has age-appropriate kids' child play for 2 to 5 as well as 5 to 12. There's some climbing equipment as well as some spinning equipment. This is an inclusive playground, which means that it's all for all physical abilities, those as wheelchairs as well as those that can run and jump. And some other amenities that we're improving to the project include some site lighting. We're upgrading from HPS to LED lighting throughout the parking lot, as well as some additional trail lighting in the park, as well as upgrading the lighting in the existing hockey rink. There's existing HPS lighting that will be upgraded as well. And I would also like to, are there any questions with the site plan so far?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Does not appear that there are any questions for you, so I guess we'll move on.
The next I'd like to show is an image, but is there a stop sharing and then can I share a JPEG? Is that an option? There it is. And these are hot off the presses from the playground manufacturer today, and these are the playground equipment that has been selected through all the different public meetings that we've had. And here's one rendering of the play equipment. A different view. There's an oodle swing playground equipment. The tall one is for 5 to 12, and the shorter one is for 2 to 5. And not shown in these images is the Supernova, which is a spinning circle that you saw on the site plan. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or opens up for public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Hickok. Are there any questions for the petitioner? It does not appear that there are any questions, so now we will open the hearing to public testimony. Do we have...
We do have one.
We have one? Okay.
Hi, this is Kristen. Leave a message.
No more public testimony.
Okay, well, it looks like we are through the public testimony. Ms. Hickok, would you like to state anything else? Do you have anything else you would like to add?
Madam Chair,
I just wanted to give Steve the opportunity to say anything if he'd like to.
Okay, hold on one moment, please.
we have our public testimony calling in if you'd like to answer. Hi, is this Kristen?
Yeah.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for your public testimony for case 2020-0056.
Excellent. Sorry, I was
no worries.
I was across the room.
No worries. Are you an individual or a representative of a group?
Individual.
Perfect. You'll have 3 minutes for your public testimony. If you can state your name before you begin, the phone will call after you provide public testimony if there are no questions from our commission.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You may go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kristen Kiefer, and I was calling about the Takishla Park. And I was just wondering if it was possible to maybe add a dog park in there. There isn't really one within the network of the trails and things like that in that area. And I just wanted to state my support for a dog park.
Thank you. I believe that would be a question directed to the petitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that you want to answer for that, Ms. Hickok or Mr. Refuse, about adding a dog park to this plan?
I can jump in here. This is Steve Refuse, Park Superintendent. And, we had discussed, this had come up during the master planning process. And through that process, we had looked at essentially proximity to other dog parks. And just within Takishla Park, within 1 mile of Takishla Park, there's 3 off-leash areas. And so something that we had explored further, we had talked about designated off-leash areas, which typically why we didn't decide, and as working with the advisory group, this location would be suitable, is because those typically are best located at larger community use areas with easier access. And one concern through the public process was bringing in essentially lots of traffic daily to the off-leash area and then providing separation of those different types of uses, right? So when you arrive at this particular area of the park, people arriving by vehicle, you're going to have people going to play either basketball or hockey in the rink right there. Then you also have the children's play area. And so finding a location that would work in this particular area just wasn't the most suitable location. And so just north of the park is Nichols Park, and that is not technically an off-leash area, but it is occasionally permitted for different types of club groups who want to exercise animals off-leash and do different types of events. And so through the master planning process, we did look at that, but determined that this wasn't the most suitable location. But I do appreciate the comment. And it's something that we as a department are exploring and looking to in the next year do more of a citywide study to determine locations to see where there are essentially the most suitable locations, but also where in proximity to members of the public so that folks don't have to drive all the way across town. But again, this location has 3 dog parks that just are within 1 mile.
Thank you. Is there time remaining for Ms. Kiefer to continue, if she has anything else she would like to add?
No, sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing, but I guess I think I understood the commenter. And then, I guess a non-leashed area for dogs in the area that is fenced would be appreciated somewhere. If this isn't the spot for it, I understand, but I think it is needed in the area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kiefer, for calling in.
Of course. Yep.
I believe that that's the last person that we had that was going to call in. Would the petitioner like to use any time to add anything to their presentation or respond any further? I mean, Mr. Refuse, you did just respond to the last caller, so is there anything
I'll add just
I know.
two more little items here. One thing that we're adding is you can see image number 1 and the concept that Tanya has provided earlier, and I can actually share my screen if that's not up. It's a small rock climber, which is essentially built after a black bear. Takishla and the Dena'ina language means black bear, and so we tried to honor some of that in the design while also creating a fun, not just a play feature, but also something that's placemaking and has some sense of identity. And then some of the thinking behind the circular design was through the process and all the conversations with the community over the last few years, something that folks really latched onto about this space is if you look at all the trails, north, south, east, west, they all arrive at this one spot. And so through the design process, we really tried to capture the community's vision for what is Takishla Park. Well, this is the neighborhood park portion of this park. And this is really a hub for the community, from folks coming from the east side of the neighborhood and from the west side of the neighborhood, and also coming from the Chester Creek Trail. So we tried to take the idea of having a central gathering space. And so the idea behind the design is all the trails arrive at this playground. We remove the existing ball field fence. That way we have some extra space for people who want to have a Frisbee or play soccer, or just have some open space to throw down a blanket and picnic. So we really tried to create the circular design with a kind of a central hearth idea. And in a perfect world, we would be able to have outdoor fireplaces and wouldn't have any concerns. But unfortunately, that's just not where we live and in the time that we live right now. But we tried to create this central gathering space in this plaza and accommodate the community's desire for just gathering, collecting, feeling safe, having lots of visibility, and a place that you could really run into your neighbor. And so we tried to put that thought, transition it from the master plan, and put it into the design. And that was one of the guiding principles as we laid out our design.
Thank you, Mr. Afuse. Are there any questions for the petitioner or for staff? Okay, I see we have a request from Commissioner Sullivan. Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was in mute. I have a question. I see that parking stalls are the corner. Are we having like ramps? And what's the slope to get to the games? Do we have a correct slope for ADA? Maybe the plans are not finished.
You were a little muffled, Commissioner Sullivan.
Commissioner Sullivan, if you take a look at the site grading plan, there is a zoom in of the parking lot. And I believe I tried to keep it less than 2 or 3% in the parking lot.
Okay. And then will you have ramps? You have a curb, right? Around the perimeter?
No, it's actually strip paved, so there's no curb. There's curb bumpers.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I just got confused because there's a detail.
Yes, for curb bumpers, not actual curbing.
Okay.
Was that all you had, Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. The public hearing is now closed. May we have a motion to approve a major site plan review for Takishla Park? This is case 2020-0056. If someone could please type in motion. We have a motion to approve from Jerry Winchester. Could you please state your motion, Mr. Winchester?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the case number 2020-0056, major site plan review for Takishla Park improvement, be approved with the condition 1, department recommendation number 1.
Thank you. Can we get a second from a commissioner? We have a second from Commissioner Baxley. Commissioner Winchester, would you please speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a great project, and I think in an incredible community of part of our community that is really in desperate need of certainly the type of playground and playground equipment that are being provided here. I find that it meets all the requirements of the public comments. There's been a lot of work with the community to work back and forth with the type of facilities that this would have in it, and the discussions about dog parks and discussion about. And I'm very happy that this is turning into a children's park. I think, if anything, our community, and I want to speak to this, really has too few parks that are really designed for children and play. We seem to be having a lot more what turns out to be dog parks, and I'm happy to see another one going in that meets those criteria, and certainly in the community that really needs it. I feel that it really meets all the criteria as far as site planning and meeting the zoning districts, of course. Item 2, it meets all the offset requirements and site addresses any adverse impacts. It's consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. And that includes, policy 41, 44, 50, 65, 67, and 70. And in general, I just really want to applaud a great job on the part of the design team, great job on the part of the municipality. Keep moving forward with these projects that truly do benefit a community that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxley, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, I move to approve case 2020-0056 for the major site plan review for Takishma Park Improvement Project. This project is consistent with the Anchorage 2020 Anchorage Bowl Comprehensive Plan. It also met criteria based on staff findings that are shown on pages 3 through 6. I also wanted to talk about department's recommendations. So the department recommends the approval with the following conditions. 1, a notice of zoning action, including a copy of the approved resolution, shall be filed with the district recorder's office, and proof of such shall be submitted to the planning department. There's also an advisory comment from Watershed Management Services. The right-of-way east of the park contains a FEMA map floodplain. The proposed work does not extend to this area. If the work area extends to this location, a flood hazard permit could be required. So as long as the petitioner knows that and follows the department's recommendation and advisory comment. And I think this is a great project as well. It preserves natural resources, and it also adds value to the lives of people. So it's pretty exciting. It's going to be a really nice improvement for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or anyone else that wish to speak on this project? Commissioner Cash, you have a comment?
Yes, I wanted to add my support for this project. It is a beautiful improvement project, and the site plan is very well conceived and well developed. It does address the site improvement elements that were recommended in the Takishma Park Master Plan in 2018. And I hope that more funding it comes through for the items that were not able to be funded in this rendition, in this version. And just want to say I see this park bringing years of enjoyment to the community. The variety of age-related activity opportunities is very meaningful, as was said earlier. And I just wish each community had a similar park. So well done.
Thank you, Commissioner Cash. If there is no further discussion, I'll restate the motion. So case 2020-0056, we move to approve a major site plan review for Takishla Park park improvements, subject to the department's condition 1, as shown in the staff packet. May we have a vote?
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Winchester?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Cash?
Yes.
Commissioner Baxley?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
And Chair Ream has voted yes.
And the case passes. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening, Ms. Hickok and Mr. Rafuse, and for your amazing plan for this park. Much needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, that closes out the public hearing projects we had this evening. Unless there's any reports from the secretary or any comments from staff or commissioners, we can have a motion to adjourn. And remember to type in motion. We have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Clark and a second from Jerry Winchester. Thank you, Commissioner Winchester. And the meeting is adjourned.